Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Donna, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Let's jump straight into it. What got you into what you're doing right now, and what's the story of the engine?
So I have a history in sales. I've worked in recruitment, I've worked in software sales, and you know what? I've seen the same problems occur over and over again, with companies having a disjointed go-to-market strategy, poor execution, spending either not enough time or too much time in founder-led sales. And I just got to that point in my career where I thought, you know what, I am going to do what I've been telling my CEOs to do their entire career, which is find a problem which is keeping people awake at night, work out a way to fix the problem, and then tell as many people as you can in the best way possible. And so the engine was born.
This is pretty solid advice. Why do you think people stay stuck in founder-led sales, in shaky go-to-market strategies? Why is that? That's the lifeblood of a business, right? Why do people feel stuck in that space?
Good question. I think that there's a mixture of reasons. Sometimes it's because it's working, because founders are incredibly good at sales. In fact, arguably, it's very difficult for then AEs to come in and replicate what founders have done. They tend to have a fantastic black book. If they've had investment, then their investors can introduce them to potential clients. So they tend to get very comfortable, and very, I suppose, maybe a little bit cautious of hiring expensive STEs when, let's face it, I know as being a sales leader myself that whilst there's a lot of salespeople out there, you've really got to, trawl through them to make sure you get the right one for your business. And just because somebody is smashing it over at Salesforce, it doesn't mean that they're going to come into your startup and smash it. So it can be something that is absolutely crippling for founders. And I think there's a real fear, I suppose, of making the wrong decision, spending a load of money, and getting it wrong. So I think that's the main reason that they kind of stick around in that. And then just kind of lack of knowledge and understanding. It's crazy how I think in the new business world, there's quite a lot of information out there, and the founders tend to be quite clued up in terms of their outbound strategy. But really good demand gen and good marketing is really only just now starting to be seen as a pivotal part of a go-to-market strategy. And it's a real process that's been happening over the last 5 or 6 years, and has caused it to kind of become, I suppose, not have a seat at the go-to-market table. So a lot of the businesses that I've been into have quite a decent close plan, quite a decent new business engine, but have absolutely nothing fueling it. And that's a real problem.
So how do you help those founders? How do you help those companies actually fix that?
Yeah, so it was definitely something that when I first went into companies, we do the discovery call and they tell me what the problems are, and usually it's all, we're not closing enough deals, the guys aren't doing enough calls, my team are underperforming. These are the kind of list of very kind of sales issues. So I go into a company thinking that that's what we're going in to fix, and nearly all of the time we have to pause and say, do you know what? Where your problems are exist at the top of your funnel. And so that's where I'm really spending a lot of my time fixing pipeline, fixing brand, fixing positioning, all of the things that are going to then set us up for success in the new business engine. Because if I just start, trying to fix things later on later on down the line, and no pipeline comes, then it's just process for the sake of process, which would make me look good, but I'm not actually interested in just looking good and then saying bye-bye. I want to actually make a change, and I want these businesses to be successful. I appreciate the fact they've invested in me, and I want to make sure that they look back in 3 or 4 years' time and think that was a really good decision for the business.
I like the way you rock. Donna, so can you tell us a bit more about where the business was? So we're recording this November 2025, so towards the end of 2025.
Crazy.
Where it is crazy. Where the business was at the beginning of 2025. So we started working together as of like April. Before you started working with us, where kind of was the engine, and how were you evolving in that space?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was still very new. Still finding my feet. Still saying yes to absolutely everything that came my way. And I still stand by that. By the way, I don't think that was a mistake. I was working 11 days a week. Work that one out, if you will. At one point, and really, just I suppose setting my business up for the most success possible, and doing the best possible job, over delivering on all of my projects so that I could get case studies to drive my next marketing campaigns and grow the business. So I was very much in survival mode, like sink or swim. This is it. I've made this huge decision to come out of I say the comfort of full-time employment. I actually don't think it's that comfortable for a CRO, but still made that decision to follow my, not my dream, but my vision, and set up the business. But yeah, at that point I was just kind of all over the place. I describe it like a moth. Just like as soon as a bit of light came over there, I was flying over there, and then I was going the other way, and then the other way, and then the other way. So yeah, no real direction or strategy, but absolutely loving it and knowing that I'd made the right decision.
We all start by letting anybody with a pulse and a credit card in, and pulse is optional. That's what you do when you start.
Totally. They're like, I want to pay you, and I'm like, right, okay, where can I start?
How do we make this work?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's motivated you to start a podcast around April, like Q2 of 2025, and what motivated you to start a podcast with us?
They're both the same answer, which is you. That's it. It's a one-word answer. I actually wouldn't have thought of it, and it would not have been on my radar at all. Not even, I hadn't even considered it as part of my strategy. If you look at all of my business plans and growth plans and everything else, there's a lot of marketing, a lot of content, a lot of great stuff going on, but podcast was not even on my radar at all. I got your initial outreach, I think, on a LinkedIn email or DM.
Yeah.
It won't surprise you to know that in my role, I get a lot of that stuff.
Oh, really?
Everyone's gonna fix go-to-market, right? Everybody's looked in your LinkedIn profile and thinks there's a few things that could change. Can we jump on a call and have a look through? I'm getting old now and I'm skeptical. Like, but one thing I will say is I know a good outreach when I see one. This is the stuff I teach all day, every day. These are the things that can trump, good sales tech stacks and all of the fancy stuff that we spend all our money on. If you're able to craft a really good message, or have a great conversation, or create a good buying experience at any stage of the funnel, then that is the secret sauce, and you broke through the noise. Thank you. And I said to you, I think at the time, I think I gave you a bit of probably a very patronizing metaphorical pat on the back, but I couldn't help it because I was like, the whole process was very, very seamless. And so, yeah, that was that. I think the rest is kind of a bit of a whirlwind, really, because one minute I was on a call just kind of going through how it would look, and the next minute I'm sat in a studio in Farringdon with my first guest in front of me thinking, somebody help me.
So I appreciate a lot the nice words. Thanks a lot, Donna. Once we sprouted the idea of a podcast, what made you think that this was potentially a right call, or something that you could actually use in your marketing stack and your brand stack?
It's a really easy one for me to answer because at the time, as I've just said, I was swamped.
Yeah.
Absolutely swamped with work. I mean, I'm not complaining. I was in,
Good
I was just like so happy because I had work lined up. I had people queuing at that point. So your timing, as much as it was great messaging, your timing couldn't have been better, which is a really important element, right? If your timing's off, you can have the best messaging and the best products in the world. You're not getting through the door.
Yeah.
Your timing was just absolutely chef's kiss. So I had my problem at the time, my pain point was not getting more clients. My pain point was how do I not now lock myself in a room for the next 6 months, become invisible for the market, have no brand, have no presence, have no voice, and most importantly, spend 6 months not learning a thing from the founder community who are my ICP and the very people that I serve. That was my problem because if I wanted to, I could just lock myself in a room and just deliver projects all day, every single day, or be driving up and down or flying up and down, speaking to my clients, being with my clients and helping to solve their problems. But I would have come out of that in 6 months and they would all, their places would, their companies would have been a great state. Mine would have been an absolute shit show because I just basically had 6 months off my own business. So that was a problem that we fixed by doing the podcast because it's not marketing as we know it.
Yep.
I've learned more from the podcast guests than I've ever learned from any trainers or any podcasts or any books or anything that I've ever tried to consume around sales. I've got a bookshelf here, it's full of sales books. I've learned more from the podcast guests that I spoke to than all of those books. So that has been invaluable. And also, as people will have seen on LinkedIn, it's kept me probably too visible. They're probably sick of the sight of me. So it's ticked those boxes.
I appreciate that. So there is something very interesting that you mentioned, which is you were having lots of work, people queuing at the door, which is typically when most B2B coaches, consultants, fractional CXOs, this is the time when they're like, I don't have time to take on any other initiative. I have too much work. And that's how they enter into that feast and famine kind of cycle. Why did you decide, and what mindset did it take to be like, no, that's actually the moment where I need to invest because of everything that you just said? Like, to anybody who might be thinking, I have too much work right now, I cannot take on a project that will help me get visibility, build my brand, build relationships, which is what podcast is about at the end of the day. What made you take that leap at that very busy moment?
What I'd say to those people is ask yourself and be very honest with yourself. And it doesn't matter what the answer is. Do you want to be fractional or do you want to build a business? Because they're very different things. I've never, ever put myself out as fractional. Fractional CRO, fractional CXO is part of the service offering of the business that I'm growing and that I'm building. And the way that you build a business is you always focus on the name above the door and building that and growing that. So even if, yes, like you say, the perfect time to do that is when you have lots and lots of work on, because that's the time that you're most likely to take your finger off the pulse, because all the temptation is just to bury your head inside of your clients, which if you're fractional is totally fine. Why not? That's exactly what you would do. But and the other reason why it's a great time to do it is all this cash coming through the door. Spend it. You don't want to invest in something like this with that hasn't got like there's a route to revenue with the podcast, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen overnight. So why would you do it when you're strapped for cash? Do it when the money's coming in.
Amen to that.
It was a no-brainer.
I respect that. So can you tell us a bit more about your experience with us? And here it's like really open to however you felt the experience was, from, okay, you had that very convincing French accented guy tell you about podcasts, to, hey, we are actually building that thing, recording 25 episodes in 6 months? Like, can you tell us a bit about your experience with GHA marketing?
Yeah, I think it's a very well-oiled machine. So at the front end, so the sales, so you and your co-founder, very, very human. And at that point, who knows, it could just be you two and in the evenings doing all of the editing or whatever. At that point, I didn't really ask because I didn't know anything about podcasts. I was like, I like you. I'll buy into you. Let's give this a whirl. Right? It's a risk. Let's do it. Um, what I've discovered after that is there's a whole load of stuff under the bonnet that goes on that you don't actually talk about so much in the sales process, which I really respect because you don't, if you were a product, you've not done that big mistake where, you go on a product demo and they try and just shove features down your throat for the half an hour instead of thinking about the things that really matter. That's what you didn't fall into. So you told me the things that matter to me and didn't show off about the amazing team that actually are sitting behind the scenes, fueling everything and making it happen. So whilst I was super impressed by that process, when I actually became a customer, that level of kind of delight, I suppose, went much, much higher at like what goes on behind the scenes. It's a really professional outfit and lots of people, whether it be the guests themselves or people that have watched the podcasts, other editors have said to me, very, very high quality. Quality has been, I suppose, the kind of running theme throughout the shows. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. So I like the fact that you held a little bit back. You didn't actually talk to me about that. You didn't say, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be like really good quality. You're going to have a fantastic team." Shout out to Sam behind the scenes, just absolute legend. Does so much for me. And you didn't sell that to me at all. Like you've let me find that out all by myself. So it's just been like eating a nice chocolate with lots of lovely layers to it.
Maybe
Really
that's something I
enjoyable.
should integrate though in the pitch then, if it's that amazing.
Maybe, but just at the right time because it has been lovely. That for me is a more of a like that's how you keep the customer because you're just constantly delighting them, leaving these little breadcrumbs, these little surprises, like a little chocolate on your pillow kind of thing. I must be getting hungry because I keep using food analogies. But yeah, it's just that's been a really lovely experience. Whereas if you just went, wow, these are all the things that we do and showed your wares too early, there wouldn't be anything to then delight the customers, keep them. And as much as I probably would have stayed anyway, I think it's definitely that that's kept me around for what is it now, 6 months?
7, yeah.
7 months. Because it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Love that. Under promising, over delivering is what we try to do.
Love that.
So we are in November, so end of November now. Can you tell us a bit more about where your business is at right now, how the whole journey has been, and the benefits, the results that you got out of this, and what it allowed you to unlock for the next steps?
Unlock is definitely the word. So I'm no longer in a state of stress and panic all of the time, trying to work out how the hell I'm going to deliver these things and doing way too much work. I think, as I said before, speaking to these amazing founders, I mean, I've had some unbelievable, they've all been great actually. I haven't had one dud. So, and I will be putting on a nice party for them as soon as the weather improves because I just feel so grateful to them, not just for spending their time coming on the show and talking to me and being so honest and open about their stories. We've had some real kind of almost tearjerkers. They always said, like, I'm not setting out to be Stephen Bartlett. This is not Diary of a CEO. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, because it's better. Like, it's so good. Yeah, so just learning from them has been so amazing. And it's not just that I've learned about them as a person, it's really made me decide where I want to take the business next. Because there's been these running themes going through all of them, which has been all around collaboration and the need to have go to market as a cohesive kind of engine. Funny that. Boom. Good name choice.
Oh my God.
Hindsight. And that has definitely made me decide what this business is, essentially, where it's going. It's not, I'm not just a fractional, no offense to fractionals, but that is not what this is. This will be a collaboration of people and services and talent and expertise and awesomeness that founders can just tap into and they can hop on and off. So it's a really low risk, low cost way of getting to where their business needs to be. And that's where we're going to take the engine in 2026. And I can attribute 90% of that decision down to the podcast, because it's off the back of the conversations that I've had with the founders on the podcast that I've thought, that's what they want. That's what they need.
Absolutely love that. Donna, thank you so much for this time and for the testimonial. Anything that I didn't ask you that you think might be relevant for the audience to hear and to listen to?
Oh, gosh.
That was already all stuff. That doesn't need to be anything.
I don't think there did, actually. No, I think it's a nice, and I'll always give you feedback. I'll always try and think of something to help. But yeah, no, I think that was, it's definitely comprehensive enough, I think.
Well, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.